Is there anything else that anybody wants to share before we go into all this? Everybody just wants to hear what's going on. It's really crazy. Yeah. Okay. Oh, let me mute tones. Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and go into the silence mode, and that way we don't hear dogs. Okay. So then we've got everything muted, and so we've got nice and quiet. Yeah. So again, thank you all for coming on again and sharing this time with all of us. I mean, it's so appreciative. I mean, I'm just in deep gratitude for our group, and I'm really grateful that we're able to come in and just share this energy and go into deep meditation for healing ourselves and everyone around us, our nation, the world, just everything, just, going in and working with the field consciously to certainly create the highest potentiality for us, but also everybody that's in our lives. And especially in this, with this juncture in human history, it's a big deal. There's so much happening. And I mean, astrologers talked about it. They knew it would be a big time. And I mean, we're really in the full swing of this stuff. I mean, we had the eclipses, in March, and we are almost through with April, which doesn't just, we've blinked and here it is. We're 3/4 of the year, no, 2/3 of the year now complete with 2025, and that just does not seem possible. Again, time is just collapsing on us, but everything is continually moving forward. And we're continually having the disintegration of all of the old, that's been happening for such a long time. And it's really time for it to disintegrate. It's time for it to be gone. It's time for us to really be able to have a good feeling of what we're going to create. And I know we're still lost in that idea about what is being created. And part of that, I mean, I've mentioned this before. It's like, what was it? March the 30th, Neptune finally came from Pisces and Aries. It's that new dream. We're in that really spacey Neptunian, the new illusory world, but it's also the delusion. You've got both sides of that. And so, I mean, as long as we're here in this 3D world reality, I mean, there's so many people still playing out the polarity. So they're playing, some people are playing really in the new reality, but a lot of people are still deluded and they're lost in that old function, which just doesn't work. And we're going to continually watch that play out because, I mean, it really is impossible to not face our shadow self at this point. And I've mentioned this before, and it really still stays true. I mean, I really feel like we're still in what I consider to be a Bardo state, collective Bardo state, where we're having to face ourselves. And that's not pretty. I mean, we have to do this when we go into physical death, but we're doing it while we're alive now. And but we're also trying to create our new dreams and what we want to do. That's Neptune coming into Aries. And coming up, it's going to be a month from now, I believe, on May the 25th or 6th or 7th, somewhere in there, is when Saturn comes in to meet, and it's going to give structure to our new dreams. So we've still got about another month of sitting in whatever it is in your heart and letting things come forth in what you think you want to do. And just let that come through. Don't try to, force it into anything as far as what it may look like or anything like that. But just allow it to come forth. And I also think, with Neptune coming in, we're really allowing Mother, Father, God, and and all of the I am presence, the field. We're allowing the field. We're allowing the all that is to work with us. And the more we sit in that, I think we're going to create the highest potential of where we're going and what we came here to do in this lifetime. And I mean, if you're on this call, then obviously it's resonating with you, and you may not feel like it's a big deal yet. I mean, obviously we're still processing out, any lower dimensional stuff that doesn't work anymore, and we're still attempting to, be parts of our family. I mean, we're, all these sort of relationships with our families and friends and business associates and things, but we're also here to really seed in the new highest potential of something being created. And sometimes it's really hard to figure out what that is. And there's not any better or less value in what anyone is doing. I think that's the hardest part sometimes for people to understand. You may be just creating very simple reality in your life. It may just mean that you're waking up every day, you're enjoying nature, you are contributing in whatever way that you are. You may feel it's a small way of expression. And yet, if you are here and you're deeply grounded in peace and love and just high vibrational frequency, you're doing your job because you're staying in pristine awareness. As long as you're just staying right here and you're grounded and you're being and you're deeply in that space, you really are contributing to raising the vibrational frequency of the planet. And we don't always have to be doing something. That's one thing that people really get stuck on. They think that if they're not doing something, that somehow they're living in a less than, and that's really false. Just our presence is absolutely enough. You may just be attending things on the earth. You may be attending your flower garden. If you're attending flowers in your yard, you're attending a place for bees to come, and you're giving them a much needed place to live. I mean, there's so much that's off on the planet with regarding to bee population or any other insects. I mean, all the chemicals, they've not just killed us, from the inside out, but they're killing off the ecosystem. And that's one thing that we are attending, So even if you may not feel like you're doing anything, I want you to really go in and just be in pure love with yourself, because you're doing just by being. By being on the call, we are shifting the field. Again, everything is a frequency. So, and a couple of you mentioned earlier, before we started the call, talking about how intense things are. And you mentioned about how people seem like they're angry, they're going off the deep end, they're going through all sorts of just stuff, and all of that is true. And I didn't get the email sent out until overnight last night, so some of you may have had a chance to read through the information today, and some of you may not have had a chance yet. And there were actually several postings during the day today talking about, this full moon, or the new moon here in Taurus. And this moon is right here at 7 degrees. Well, it's like 7:47 or something. So it's really not. It's kind of shy of 8 degrees. So it's really close to 8. But one of the most interesting posts that someone shared, and I actually put a big meme that was made about it because it really is kind of true. And it mentioned about this is the kind of pressure that creates diamonds. So I want you to think about that because it really is very indicative of the energy that we're sitting in. There's so much pressure that's being pulled in, and what's happening with that is this Mars-Pluto opposition, and this has been happening now. I think like since last November. It was an opposition that was going to happen 3 times because of retrogrades and forward motions and movements. But basically, this ongoing Mars-Pluto opposition was happening this weekend for the final time, and it's forming a T-square with this new moon. And so that invites, action into, break our patterns, whatever it is that still needs changing, this is creating the pressure for it. So the eclipse window was taking us into new awareness. I mean, we know that things need to change, still some things in our lives, but sometimes that change does not happen easily. And anytime you have a Mars-Pluto opposition, it's basically action, Mars, and then Pluto is the transformation. And when they go into opposition, it creates this power point where if you're not making conscious decisions to change things in your life, we will bring in circumstances that creates the tension to make you make a choice, which will bring you closer into alignment with where your soul really wants to go. And a lot of times people don't want to go do the deep work to figure out, the biggest capacity of their soul expression. It's like we just get stuck in the ruts and we stay, wherever we are. And it's always easy to blame someone else or project the value onto this or that. But, again, this has been going on for 6 months, and it's going to end, with this moon. And that's one reason that some people talk about, how intense it is. I mean, some astrologers are saying that this week has been the most intense energy of the whole year because of these patterns playing out. And some of them have talked about the fact that also Black Moon Lilith, and I've talked about Lilith in these calls quite a bit too, is in a, let me see, I guess she's in a square to it all. But all of this energy together really has been activating a lot. And we also had, with Mars-Pluto was also a sun. When the sun came across it, I guess that was about the 23rd, if I remember right. It was creating all this. And, of course, on the 21st, we had Saturn conjuncting the North Node in Pisces, which means it was more like a spiritual turning point. It's like it's making us have to go in and figure out who we are in our core. And that's not an overnight thing. We've also had Venus coming in and meeting, Saturn. Venus will enter back into Aries here coming up just in a couple of days. And that's going to really give us a sense of, Venus is how we love and what we love. And when that's going to go through, the I am presence, it's going to move pretty quick, because it's been in this retrograde time. It's trying to make up all of the places that made us go back and look and ask ourselves what was important. But the biggest thing is to stay in your heart, no matter what. I don't care what Mars is doing. I don't care what Pluto is doing. If you are deeply grounded in your own heart and soul, and you're doing the deep dive work, that's really where it's at. Because Spirit is going to inform us from the inside out. And as we continue to stay in those places, we're going to be in divine flow. And something that I'll share with that, I don't think I had shared this by the last time we had the call. I don't remember when it was. If I shared this before, then just let it go. But it's certainly sharing again. We'll have moments like this that remind us where we're at, what we're supposed to be doing if we're in the right space. When we had, during the week of, the eclipse window, just that 2 weeks in between, you remember we did the calls, where everybody was calling in, and we all shared a lot. It was really great and validating for that energy. And several of you had mentioned that you didn't have to lift a finger for certain things. There was all this synchronicity. There were all of these things that were happening for you that just lined up, and it worked perfectly. And that was something that I ended up having a synchronicity about. It was actually Easter Sunday. I was actually mowing my cousin's yard, and had one of these big zero-turn mowers. I've mowed it for the last 3 years, no problems. And I was mowing the front, and it just started. And they've got a decent-sized ditch by the road there. And they're out in the county. And but I just got down in there to mow that side of the ditch. And I did not realize we'd had so much rain before. It was pretty wet down in there. And before I knew it, I could not get it out. Oh, shoot. And I thought I was trying to fix it. Well, by the time I was done, the mower was perpendicular. Both back wheels, huge wheels, are sitting down in the ditch perfectly, just spinning, and I couldn't get out. And I was completely wedged in. I mean, it was wedged. There was no way. And I just thought, oh, God, what on earth am I going to do? And I was supposed to go to my great-aunt's house, who was supposed to have the surgery in a couple days, and help her prepare, do the bathing and all that. I already had all this stuff. I didn't know what to do. I thought about just sitting and crying. I was like, how do you get a big mower out of a ditch? I mean, there was no way. And I went back up to their shop, and I found a board that was like 6 inches wide, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get some traction. So I stuck it in there. It was long enough to go both sides so the wheels could get hit, and I put it down there. Just spun. Couldn't get it on, couldn't get traction, and I just felt so defeated. And I remember walking back, and I got my phone, and I just want to take a picture of it. I'm like, okay. And I just looked up to the sky, and I said, God, please take care of this. I don't know what to do. What on earth? I mean, it's a Sunday afternoon, like 4 in the afternoon. Who do you call? Can't call Ghostbusters. But so literally, I had turned my back for just a minute and turned back around, and a truck pulls up on the road there, and the guy, puts his window down, and I said, "Hey," he said, "You got a little problem there, huh?" And I said, "Yep." And he gets out, and he comes, looks at it. He said, "Well, he said, we can just take care of that right now." He said, "I think I just happened to have a chain in the back of my truck, a nice big Ram truck." He looked, sure enough, he did. Said, "Well, why don't I just back this? I'll just pull in the yard, and we'll just pull you right out." I was pulled out in a minute. I mean, there was no effort. I did not have to make a call to anyone. That is just divine flow. Did I just ask Spirit to manifest this person? I guess so, because I asked and it was received. So it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did this person come along because I just asked, and then it was immediately there? Or was it just a synchronistic flow? I brought myself a situation and circumstance where in one moment I would have thought, how will I get out of this? It's seemingly impossible. I mean, they had a big Ram truck, big dually thing in the shop, but I didn't know where the keys were, and I couldn't pull it out. So, but Spirit just took care of that. I just completely surrendered and said, God, please take care of this. And it was done. I mean, immediate. So, again, it's the question, did I ask and it got done, or was it just in divine flow? And my answer to this is that we're in divine flow. And when we are in a position, when we find ourselves in a place of needing to surrender and allow help in, that can happen. And then you can also be in a place, though, where you're the gift to the other person, because sometimes they need to be the one that provides the assistance. And so it's both. There's a reciprocity that we're giving to each other as we're creating this new earth. I mean, sorry for the longer version of this kind of story, but it really is indicative of what we're co-creating now. And so yes, we're going to have the moments where we've got these very challenging aspects that can bring out the worst in people. At the same time, it's kind of like Pam Gregory talks about, if you are staying deeply in your heart and soul, you can have flow in this time, even when the rest of the external world appears to be imploding on itself. And it's always all of the above, and it's about where you're going to place, your attention. I think it's the bigger, picture of this. And I mean, I've talked about this before, but the challenging part of all this energy is that we're in the world, but we're not of the world. So you've got all these, configurations. You've got these squares and oppositions and conjunctions, all these things that are really happening to people that are kind of, making them blow up. And depending on where, someone's particular soul is, will depict, basically tell what they need to, be doing. And this is true for all of us. I mean, every single person is going through this. And I think one of the writers in astrology, Chrissy Martucci, was writing, and one of the things, it was the sun transiting through Taurus, and she'd asked the question of, can you receive? And, she was explaining about, Taurus being earthy, and also feminine, and Taurus being ruled by Venus, beauty, harmony, peace, abundance, love, well, all these kinds of things. But she also was talking about how much it's about self-worth and self-love and whether we deserve something. Because if you're not in a place to receive, you can't receive. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we're attempting to do with all of this energy is go meet ourselves in places where we don't think we're worthy of receiving. And, depending on where you are in your own progression of soul, and how much you've been able to transition and shift out of the work you came here to do on a soul level, the fears, the traumas, the wounding, the family stories, and all these kinds of things. Basically all of this is going to be, part and parcel to bringing you into the new reality. And again, I mean, nothing happens fast in the earth signs. Everything is meant to be slow. Everything is this kind of like Spirit wants to just take you on micron levels of growth, because we're really anchoring this in. We're really grounding these new creations. And a lot of these astrologers are writing about whatever we're creating now, and it's really with this moon. As a matter of fact, one of the astrologers, I think Lisa Zimmerman, was talking about, she thought that this moon was really closing out the eclipse series. Different astrologers look at that in different ways. Some think that the moon that's right before and the moon after are opening and closing of it. And some will say that it's two moons before, because you need a whole moon cycle, which opens the eclipse energy. And then you have a whole moon cycle, which is a new moon and a full moon, both on either end, to really close it out. And if that's true, then this really would be the end of the eclipse cycle. But it's the new beginning of it. So, I've always used, I guess what a lot of others did, but, just being the moon before and the moon after, which is a 6-week time period. But in truth, I guess it could be a 10-week time period, because you've got 2 weeks between those eclipses, And then if you have 4 weeks on either side to be a whole complete moon cycle, I could see where that would make sense. So anyway, so let's say that whatever we went through during this eclipse portal, and if you use that, it would have been opening at the begin or in the middle of February and closing out now. So we're seeding whatever it is with this moon. Planting the seed does not mean we're necessarily going to manifest it right now. The manifestation time, would be, I would assume, within the next, 6 months, because that eclipse series won't really have us going into, the final part until September, when the next eclipses are. So when you're looking at, the bigger picture, again, I mean, you don't want to project too far into the future, because then you're not really in this now moment. And we're really trying to stay in a space where, if we're being met by in presence, and we are in, if we're sitting in that moment where we're being met and we're working with spirit, then you're not really in a place where you are let's say settling. This is the next place I think it's really difficult too. It's like, let's say that you're in a place and you have really good flow, and you're like in a place of choice points, and things come, and you can either choose this or choose that. So many times it's hard for us to make a decision which way to go, especially, I mean, these things happen. I also think I may have sent an email. Actually, I don't think I did with this one yet, but I need to. There was one of the astrologers that wrote about the midlife choice points. And I've mentioned several of these before, but basically there's times, like the moon's nodes, 18 and a half years, 37, 38, 39 years old, again, 50, 56, 57, 58 years old. That's the third nodal return, which I just had the third nodal return. The nodes are choice points with regards to how we express ourselves with emotion, because the nodes are tied to the moons. It's tied to life cycles, things like that. So I mean, those are choice points in midlife that are a big deal. The Saturn return is a really big deal. Happens around 29 years, 29 and a half years, and then again at 50, 57, 58 years old. And I'll have my Saturn return. Actually, what is it? Actually, mine's not until 2027, so I got 2 years to go. So, like 59 years old. Saturn is a huge, midlife return. You have your Chiron return at 51 years. I had that like 4 years ago. These things still are ongoing with us, but Chiron is a big return because it's the wounding. And so, that what a return means is that the planet comes back to the place it was at your birth. And so it activates whatever that was again. And depending on the work that you've done in transcending, the wounding or whatever thing that was happening, is going to, I think, affect where you're going. And and of course the nodes go backwards. So it's kind of like we're constantly backing into ourselves emotionally. It's like we're looking at the places where we've had stuck places, where all these kinds of things. So as a general rule, though, we don't really, I mean, you have a Pluto square. Pluto squares are going to be, let's see, Pluto's like a 250-year orbit, so you're looking at like 60 years for Pluto square. Uranus, I think it's 84, so you can have Uranus, I guess, opposition to when you're born. things like that. But the point is, there's always choice points, and it happens with every single person. And you may ask, well, why do some people have more challenging, aspects in their life and some people don't? Again, I mean, it's all depending on the progression of soul and what you've learned to this particular point in all the other lifetimes. So some people still have deep, deep stuff to learn. And I think the hard thing, especially if you're dealing with your family and you're attending people, and these aspects are really challenging. And I think they're going to be this year and into next year. So if you are attending people that are having really rough times, do not attach to whatever they're going through. It's one thing to be in attendance to someone, but you don't want to take on their traumas and their dramas. You don't want to take on the energy field. It's very difficult sometimes to be in an energy with someone and not take it on. Another thing that was intake, like for me this week, my father with dementia continuing to come forward was having a bizarre time. He was constantly wanting to keep it at 90 degrees in his house, and he thought something was wrong with it. He would call the people to come out, and you can't keep doing it. He 14 calls, each time he was trying to do this. And I couldn't get him to not do that. So I had to take all the numbers out of his phone except for maybe half a dozen, people that he could call that needed me for an emergency. But I also had to go ahead and take the keys, to his van. And it was like this whole big thing, where I'm attending my father at the end of life stage. And, as we're making these decisions, especially if we're making decisions for someone else, when people are at a place where they can't make a decision. This can be your kids, it can be parents, it can be anyone. You can be in circumstances where you're at work and you're making decisions based on, if you're in an authoritative position and you're making decisions that are going to affect a lot of people. And sometimes people make those decisions, but they don't see the really big picture because we don't think about every decision we're making it's like creating a drop in the ocean. So depending on what decision you're making, you could be creating a ripple effect that are going to affect many, many lives that you don't see. And most of us are trained away from looking at life in that way. And the reason I bring that up is because this is really a very potent time because of the challenging aspects. So, let's say that we make decisions that affect someone else, and it ripples out really, almost in a way that it would create a tsunami effect. I guess it'd be hard to, project a value, on that to give you an idea. But, well, actually, it's really not that hard. Look at the political world. If Donald Trump, any leader in any of the countries right now, they're making decisions, and we're getting to see the ripple effect of those decisions immediately as they report whatever it is the decision they're making. Doesn't matter if it's Canada, Israel, Ukraine. It does not matter. And of course, now since we've had this meeting, the Pope has died, and I won't even go into the vastness of what that means on a larger scale of humanity. But it's very and on Easter of all things, supposedly, or at least when it's reported. But there's something about that is symbolic in this particular time period. And the why is because the Pope has, been projected into the world as one of the major figurehead leaders of one of the largest, religious institutions that leads the world, the Catholic Church. I mean, you've got 1 billion people, I think, that are in Catholicism or something like that. And if you look at the way that Catholicism always functioned, it was created, I feel like, based on the premise of you go and confess, whatever it is, your sins or discretions or whatever else to whoever. But all those people, you had no separation of church and state. So it was really a very powerful control mechanism for, how you get something of what you want. But it was through control manipulation, and it really comes from a deep, dark place. Although people try to stay in their hearts and they want to worship something bigger than them, but the actual function of it was control manipulation. And if you talk to anyone who was raised in Catholic schools, the nuns could be really hard. Jude actually was in a Catholic school early, and she said those nuns were just, relentless in some of their ways of expression, and certainly not very godlike as you would, hope for. And again, that's not to knock anything, but the truth just is the truth, and you have to ask yourself, what was the energy behind all of it? It's the same with all the other world religions. It was all control manipulation. But specifically, anytime you went to confessional, you're confessing your deepest sins to someone that's not going to supposedly betray you. And yet when you go in and look at it, back through time, so many people were betrayed by their churches in different ways, depending on what needed to be accomplished. And so, and again, it's not about placing a value on any of that, but the fact that you've got the head of this particular, person leaving during the resurrection time of Easter, it's very thought-provoking, and it sends a message to the world. And people, may say, well, that his, soul and God worked it out where he would leave at this time. And everything happens in perfect and divine timing. Sometimes we don't see the reasons behind it, but as we're trying to create this new earth, we're trying to also step into the highest potentiality of our spirituality. And the spirituality is between us and God. And it really is happening outside of organized religion. I'm not saying that you can't still go to churches and you can't still be part of your community, larger spiritual group things. I think people need to come together on deep spiritual levels, but you really want to consider letting go of the control and manipulation aspects of how religion has hijacked your own spirit, if it still has. Most people on this call, I think, are beyond that, and I think everyone here does cultivate, a growth with Mother, Father, God, and Spirit. And, so, of course, depending on where you are, is how that will play out. And so, that's kind of like the bigger picture of what we're attempting to do still. And again, a lot of this is just being diamonds in the rough. We're watching and observing the external world continually implode on itself, and that's not always an easy, an easy thing to do. And let me think. So like right now, for this moon, when I go in and I've looked at the charts, for all of these things. One of the other things that I noticed some of the other stuff that some of the other astrologers don't necessarily pay attention to, but Priapus is an opposition point to Lilith, and Lilith was always, she got such a bad rap, leaving Adam, and Adam, depending on which version of all that you want to go with, but you had Adam and Lilith. They would have been the divine couple, but she got ostracized and thrown out, and of course you had the Eve story. But the point is, the oscillation point of Lilith is the actual true Lilith, and that is in opposition to this moon. I look at Lilith, oscillating Lilith, as the divine feminine that's coming back here to show us what's what, and to take us into the infinite. And Lilith just happens to be at 5 Scorpio. Scorpio is that dark, it's the hidden, it's all that. I mean, it's also been considered lower sexual energy in its function because, of the way that got played. But Priapus is an opposition point, and Priapus is sitting on this moon. Priapus was the male energy, the counterpoint to the divine feminine energy. It would have been the divine male, but it was overused. And Priapus, Priapus is basically erection, or this phallic thing. And he was actually Priapus represented fertility back in the old mythology. But those points are in opposition to each other. And the fact that you have Priapus on this moon exact really speaks to all of the energy, the misused male patriarchal energy. And you've got Lilith in opposition to it. Now, they're always in relative opposition points, but oscillating Lilith moves 30 degrees either way within, like a week or 2 weeks. So she's all over the map. But Priapus just follows any other movement like any other planet. Although they're both points, they're not objects in the sky. But the other reason that they're important is because they represent part of our emotional expression. That they are basically, let me see, Lilith is the apogee of the moon point, and I think Priapus is the perigee, if I'm right. But that also works part and parcel with the moon's nodes. The moon's nodes are the path that the moon is following. So all of those things, I feel, really work together to create an emotional picture on what's happening to us individually and collectively. And I don't think it's any mistake that the the big erect male penis is sitting here in this moon in opposition to oscillating Lilith, which is basically taking us into divine, the divine feminine as an awareness. And that Lilith is also sitting next to Haumea. Pam Gregory talks about Haumea all the time. Her mythology was that she could birth, really deeply. And I think the fact that they're there in Scorpio, that there's a lot going on with that, and I don't think gets talked about quite as much. Another part to this is Juno. Juno is partnering, and she's also in retrograde at the last part of Scorpio, but she's in opposition to Sedna and exact opposition to Uranus. So there's all this shocking partnership shifts and changes that are also happening within this time period, and it's really a lot of internal change, I feel like. And when you look at especially the stuff that's happening in Aries, I mean, you've got Saturn approaching it, Venus, they're both going to be coming into Aries by the end of this month, and so we're going to have so much happening in the I am presence. How we express ourselves, how we see ourselves, how we judge ourselves, but also the healing. Chiron is sitting on Eris. Psyche is another point. Eros and Psyche were basically lovers, and but Psyche, I think, really also is part of how we see ourselves psychically in the world. It's that development of that part of ourselves, and so there's a lot happening with all of that. And then of course the Mars-Pluto opposition. It's like there's just a lot of energy in the sky. So as we're going through all of that, and you're trying to feel into where you are, try not to be mental with it. I mean, again, just really stay in your own path, in your own lane, and like Carter, you mentioned, you felt like there was just a lot of people just wanting to complain about this and have all this pent-up energy. It's raw energy. And it's basically, you can either use that raw energy, to move yourself forward in a positive way or use it in a negative way. And, we're always creating our own reality. So I think, when we're staying in our own power point, the biggest challenge will be if you're still in any reaction, then the reaction is yours. So observe whatever's happening out there. Do not get brought into it. And things are going to continually attempt to bring us into that lower 3D vibration. I'm telling you that you're not that. Whether you choose to continually to know it is, of course, you. That's the work we came here to do, is to take all that into transcendence. It doesn't matter. Let people play out whatever they're going to play out. Don't attach to anything in the physicality. If someone is, telling you, "Oh, I'm going to take this away from you. I'm going to take," if it's about the material world and you're thinking, that you're going to lose something, do not put your treasure, your heart into the material world right now. It doesn't mean that you can't have material things, and it doesn't mean that we're unworthy of creating in the material world. But don't let it be something that someone threatens you with. I mean, that's one thing you don't want to do. Allow everyone else to be in their own power point, but you taking your own power is going to be to not be in reaction. And I can't stress that enough, especially for the next year and a half, but really from here on out. I mean, if we're in reaction to anything, the reaction is ours. It's not the other person. So even that it may drive you all nuts, trust me, I'm in the same space with all of this. If you're going in and being heartful with your decisions, I mean, just like I am with my dad, and it is not easy to attend aging. I mean, I don't know how many of y'all, still have aging parents and things, people you're attempting to assist with in life. But this is part of my Saturn return. So those of you that never really understood Saturn return and what it was, remember back to, between the ages of 57 to 59, maybe 60 years old. If you had challenging times during that part of your life, that was your second Saturn return. The first Saturn return is right before 30. And that's core life lessons with regards to, soul expression and the work we come here to do on a soul level within, especially family dynamics. A lot of people's marriages end, if they've got a first marriage, a marriage can end during that time. A lot of relationships shift, at 30 years old. And again, it's not better than or less than. It's just that the dynamics change, with what's happening in your own chart. And for every person, it does not have to be a difficult transition. Some people come here and have very smooth transitions because they don't carry the deep karma, that a lot of other people do. So that's one thing. If you're trying to, look at someone's life, like maybe neighbors, maybe people that aren't in your family soul group, if you observe some circumstances and it may feel like some people aren't having the hard time that you are, know that, well, first of all, they may not have had the accrued karmic inheritance, the genetic inheritance, and so their life is not going to be remotely, like yours. And it doesn't mean that you've had a hard life, but if you have, again, everybody's life path is different. We all came here to learn something differently. And the other part, too, I still get a lot of questions sometimes with regards to Trump and the political world and the way things play out. All I can tell you is this. Every single soul is where they're supposed to be. If you are in a reaction to something you see in the outer world, if you feel something doesn't feel right to you, then go into that, and if it moves you and moves you to action, then that's part of your soul contract. If there's something that a Donald Trump doesn't do, you don't like, and that brings you to a point to get up and do something, then he has served his purpose. It's not about Donald Trump, it's about you. And all these politicians, I'm talking about beyond Donald Trump, I don't care who they are, anyone that's in the world that's activating something deeper within you, they're serving their purpose just by doing what they're doing. So many times in our lives, we take the easy path. We don't want to go deep dive, and we don't want to rock the boat. We don't want to necessarily choose change, and yet we may be sitting in something and say, I really want to make this change, but you don't know how to do it. And sometimes it takes a Donald Trump or someone else to come in, and that's the only purpose their soul serves, is to wake you up. And his purpose is really here to break apart people from being so entrenched in the hypnosis. And I'm talking about deep, MK Ultra programming hypnosis. I'm talking about, decades of music hypnosis, television, movies. There's all these ways that we entertain ourselves, but we're hypnotizing ourselves. That takes a big energy to break that apart. I know so many people that I've talked with, either people in their family dynamics or people actually, that they're getting circumstances that they would have never dreamed in their lives. So like, how did this happen? Where did this come from? Like out of left field. And a part of that is going to be Uranus. Uranus is the Great Awakener. Uranus is here to get us up off our butts and create something in the highest capacity. And depending on how, it doesn't have to be bad. This is the other part where people really get stuck. Uranus is basically at the end of Taurus at 26 degrees. Again, Juno is in opposition to Uranus, so there's going to be a lot of shocking relationship energy that's happening. Juno is retrograde. Anytime you're retro, you're going back, you're redoing all these kinds of things. Uranus is also an algo, which is the star of the beheading. This is when you have presidents that lose their heads, they lose their jobs, they have it's that shocking of energy, and it's a big deal. And when you've got that kind of thing happening, and I'll also say this though, Uranus is also sextiling Ceres. Ceres is about grains, it's about nurturing, it's all these kinds of things. And Ceres is on the north nodes, and it's all at the end of Pisces. So that's a working energy. It's working together. So it's a positive thing. And again, Uranus shocks don't have to be something that are difficult. I will also say Hygeia is coming up to Uranus. Hygeia is a very healing energy. It's meant to take us into places of that we didn't realize how we could heal from. And those things are semi-sextiling to Chiron and Eris over in Aries. Semi-sextiles usually don't see each other, but they're still working together. It's kind of like they're working behind the scenes. And if you're making conscious choices, depending on what's happening with the shocking stuff, and not everyone has things that happen to them where they're having shocking events. Your chart may be in such a way where nothing gets hit by these things. But some people's charts are going to be just slammed by shocking, revelations. And Uranus is in opposition to Scorpio. So Uranus is really going to be pulling out all of these shocking secrets, and almost all the astrologers talk about we're still going to have disclosures. We're still going to have, so many things come forth that have to be faced. And I'll also remind everybody, you can't give away something you don't own. Judith always said that, and it's really true. I mean, you have to go to your core to deal with all these things. So I think that's the biggest, the long and short of it. I don't want to make this a long thing. I mean, I've already gone. Well, I've just gone into an hour. I wanted to try to limit today's call. I don't want to just go on and on for most of these things. There's been a lot of energy to talk about, and I think I've hit most of the big points. The main takeaway, I think, is that there's going to be a lot of change between now and the time summer comes. When Saturn finally enters Aries, I think like at the end of May. So just kind of ride these waves, stay in your own heart, in your own space. Bless the world, bless every single thing you see, bless everything that seems like it's still in a deep distortion. If something just doesn't feel right, I mean, you literally have that much power. And it's not power over, because what you're doing is you're lifting a certain set of circumstances, whatever you say, just send that to God, send it to the Spirit, and just bless it. The fact that you're blessing it, just one blessing can shift it. If you're putting out that, the blessings into the world, the blessings have to come back to you. And again, blessing without an agenda. We really don't know what we don't know. And I think that's one of the places we're still trying to work through. Something else I did as I was going through May, oscillating Lilith is going to be conjuncting Juno. She goes back and forth, but May 17th is one of the days she's going to be doing that. And she's going to be still in opposition to Uranus, and the sun is going to be sitting on Uranus that day. So I think the 17th is going to be a shocking day because that's still an Algol. But the sun on Venus direct and Juno and oscillating Lilith on top of each other, that's going to be a lot. And Juno and Lilith are basically trining the North Node in Pisces. Pisces is also, that hidden part. It's spirituality. I mean, you're going to see a lot happening. As a matter of fact, I think that's about, the time period when we're going to start looking at the Pope. They're going to try to be putting a new Pope in and things like that. That's going to be some shocking energy. So, but Hygeia is there, Sedna, they're all up there together. So, yeah, we're still going to have continued moments where we're going to have shocking moments, and then we'll have reprieve moments. It's like it's going to continue to go back and forth. So, and Saturn still has not entered Aries at that point, to give it structure. So, I guess for best results, again, just stay in your heart. Don't attach to anything. Watch it like a movie. So, I think is really, the best thing we can do for ourselves and everybody that we love and care about. It reminds us that we can't control everything. We can't control circumstances. We can't, project our value onto anything. When you're in flow, a big truck can pull up beside of you and pull you out of a ditch. You won't have to make a call. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to, you don't have to literally. I mean, you're just in flow. And what's amazing, all of those things have already been created. And a lot of the people talk about all we have to do is step into the new life. We're creating it as we go. but we're also creating it through the surrender. And I think that's one of the hardest parts, that we try to come to as far as a realization is how much can we be in surrender to our life, to spirit, and working with spirit. And it's hard to be in that space to know when we're supposed to do something, when we're not supposed to do something. I think that's the hardest, thing to do, is to know when to actually act out on something. And I think that's the other part of the tests we're going through, especially as we're creating these new relationships. The relationships have already been formed. I mean, if you subscribe to many of the people presenting New Age material and things. As I drink water, it reminds me of something else. Very important to stay hydrated in these times because, as I've mentioned before, we're 70% water, the planet's 70% water. I mean, you get all this, you've got the electrolytes. That's very important. Salt, Himalayan salt, specifically, the better, higher salts will do better. But our body needs that salt for conductivity and all this the electricity that's coming into us energetically. And but yeah, I mean, we definitely want to do things that are going to support our bodies. Another thing that I've been doing, because I mean, this energy is challenging to the body, and even though that's the other thing I was going to mention too. Spirit was kind of explaining a bit to me, was about the entanglement. I've mentioned entanglement before, and entanglement's a tricky discussion point. We have our genetic and ancestral inheritances we come in with, the things we're working with our soul groups, either our birth family, soul family, people that come in and go, with business and, friendships, what have you. So you've got all that inheritance. Within all of that, and I've said this so many times, there's no separation. So you may have someone in your family that's, acting out really lower vibrational stuff. And you say, well, I'm not going to be around that person. And so you can absolutely, just it doesn't matter who it is, you can let them fall away. Now, if there's still some place within you that has not been met, and you've removed or allowed an energy to fall away from you, if there's still something in the soul progression that has not gained the wisdom, you will create, just by default, a reflection of that energy to let you come and meet it. And sometimes that reflection is not any better than the reflection you just let go of. So that's where it gets really tricky. And some of the New Agers just want you to walk away from anything and everyone that doesn't fit. It's fine and dandy to say that. At the same time, some people end up being totally by themselves because they won't tolerate anything or anyone in their life. So that's kind of not the purpose of things either. You do have to take care with your energy field, though, where you don't have someone siphoning off your energy. And it gets really complex. I mean, Judith trained me in all this over the years, and I still have as much complexity of understanding of it as when she was taking me into it, especially with regards to family. Because people, I mean, all of us, and many of you worked with Judith, but if you remember going in, with clearing sessions with her, and you think about the energy field, and you're sharing energy fields with your family, friends, whatever, people do have the capacity to unconsciously try to glam onto your energy. They can try to siphon your energy field. you can feel absolutely exhausted when you go and visit some people, especially older people. And one thing that has happened with me is by taking care of all the older people that I do, there's unconscious aspects of them where I do feel my energy field being just totally exhausted. And again, this is the entanglement. And there is no separation. So even though I may go in and attempt to clear my energy field and undo any cording, along my chakra system from any and all people, and I do that. We're actually going to do this in this meditation here coming up. But I wanted to bring it up as something before we go into the meditation, so you have awareness of it, and you can start to just look into your own life with people that are, that you are in relationship with, business, person, it doesn't matter, your family, parents, grandparents, kids, grandkids, friends, every single relationship. If you're in a relationship with anything or anyone, look at the energy that's there. If you're still feeling a deep polarity and either pulling toward or away from any of those energies, just go in and place your awareness in those places, because we're going to go clear these things out today. Spirit took me into this as a really important necessity for this Taurus moon, because this moon is really planting the seed for what we want to create. And we want to weed out, literally we're weeding the garden we're going to be planting these seeds in. You may not even know what the seeds are going to produce. You may have some sort of vision for it. It may be a new job. It may be a new home. It may be a new way of creativity, a way that you're going to express yourself into the world. It may be a healing modality. It may be, just a new way to be. It's all the above, and that's a very limited articulation of what we're creating. But the main point with all of this is we always have to be aware of the entanglement. The entanglement does not disappear because there is no separation. And I've said this umpteen times as well. So as we're continually doing this, clearing, and this also goes back to the beginning, when I mentioned, the one astrologer, I think Meghan Kelly was her name. She talks about this moon really being pressurized to create a diamond. So imagine this next year or so, we're going to, the pressure comes from the Mars-Pluto opposition, which is kind of ending. But I do think that enough is going to happen where we'll be continually under pressure to create the diamond Christ-light. And the diamond Christ-light is always coming to meet us. And at the same time, if it's placing light on something that you haven't yet dealt with, that's what we're here to clear. And so I just want to bring these things to you to observe and feel into as we go into this meditation for tonight, because we're definitely not going to have as long a session as. I apologize if these have been too long, but everyone stayed on. It is amazing. I think this last call, there was like 7 or 8 of y'all on it still at midnight, and I was like, okay, I've got to go ahead and just let the call in. These have been some fabulous. These last 2 or 3 or 4 calls have just been really wonderful, and obviously they've been working for you guys if y'all have stayed that late with them. And I know some of you we take you really deep into deep theta healing states. And I'm hoping that you're really feeling totally shifted and in transcendent of, problems and, any distorted energy fields, any places where you have felt in limitation. I really hope that these things are clearing things up for you guys, and being able to go into pristine awareness to And I really do think that's what's happening for every one of us. Otherwise, we wouldn't continue doing these calls. So, anyway, okay, so I think that was the main thing that Spirit wanted me to convey with regards to this particular call. Oh, and then also, too, the way this energy is, I mean, you may feel absolutely completely depleted. I feel depleted. I remember when Jude would talk about she was just exhausted, and it was light. She would say it's light, and I think that's true. We're not going to have the energy we used to. And, I mean, I've got a testosterone of 122. I mean, that's like way low. I mean, normally for men it's 200 to 900. And I go to the doctor, the blood work's all fine, everything's fine. If I mentioned this last time, then it'll just be a repeat for anybody that wasn't on before. But there are functional medicine doctors out there that you can go find, and you can. I'm doing something with a couple of them. I've gotten tests from Stephen Cabral. He's a doctor. They're all on Facebook. It's so funny, but there's like a dozen. But basically, what they're doing is they're going beyond the blood, and I've had the blood work done. Everything is normal, and yet I'm completely exhausted. Part of it's energy, so I'm not in fear of any of it, but I'm so depleted, and part of it is because of the light body we're going into. But I also want to support the body in, and as long as we're here in this 3D structure, we have to deal with what's here. These functional doctors are where it's at. So I've sent off hair tests for minerals and heavy toxic metals. I've sent in another test for the candida and the metabolic function, as well as vitamins. So those two tests, one is urine and one's hair, are going to tell me what I'm deficient in without blood. And so, because it's going into, see what's going on with the DNA. The actual doctor I'm working with is a chiropractor out of Chicago, James Judge, and his whole family's chiropractic, but they're functional medicine as well. But he uses a company, I forget what the name of that one was. Anyway, but that one goes by stool sample because he wants to find out what's going in the gut biome. And anything that's out of the gut, if it's out of whack, it's going to play out in metabolic dysfunction. All of these things are creating immune diseases within every single one of us. So if any of you are interested in any of that type of testing, I can give you names, and you can go do searches for them on Facebook and just feel which one feels right to you. But I've sent all those off, so I'm hoping to get results back pretty quickly. But the reason I bring this up is because, when Jude would take us into all these things, she was going through and healing us mainly with quantum energy. I mean, we go into the great central sun, and we're using all these adamantine particles to pull in. I mean, that's what we're doing in these calls. At the same time, we're still here in human form, and we have to attend our bodies in the highest capacity possible. And it doesn't matter. You can eat as healthy as you think you are and all these things, but over time we're going to build these things up, and at some point you're going to end up hitting a wall, and your body's going to find some additional things it has to go through. And we're doing this on soul level, and it's perfect timing that's happening right now because we're having huge discussions with regards to food. What is food? I mean, most of these things are not real food products, and we've been poisoned for a long time, but I'm not going to get into all that in this call. But the point is, if you're having any issues, do consider finding a good functional medicine doctor that can go in and check for all these other things, because you can get on a really good regimen of vitamins and minerals and things that you're deficient in to you're going to assist the cell in regeneration. I mean, our body was meant to regenerate. We were meant to be happy, healthy, constantly in youthful state. And if we're doing that to the optimum capacity, then we will be able to, continually do what we're supposed to do, on the bigger level. But the body has to be as healthy as it can be, and mine is not. Yes, I'm running lots of light. I'm doing all those kinds of things, but I don't want to create a disease pattern, like Judith did with the cancer. You can sit here and be a wonderful, enlightened being, but if your physical body is still having some sort of issue, I don't care how much light you're going to run through, you can still go into disease pattern. And Krishnamurti, all these, enlightened beings, plenty of them have done it and gotten cancers and still died, even while in their wonderful enlightened states. So I really want to clarify that. Spirit wants to clarify that, to you. So, okay. On that note, let's, if you're not in a place where you can, easily go in, get yourself comfortable, either in your bed, your couch, recliner, wherever, laid out on a floor, whatever's comfortable for you, futon, yoga mat, what have you. But let's get still, and if there's, if you're in a place of your home where other people are, just go find a place for stillness. I think most everybody on the call has been on several times. So the game to this. So I think we've only lost one person. We still got 16. I think we were at 17 earlier with Antoine. I think Antoine had to get off early for bed. Yes, we still got a great group. Again, I'm so appreciative to all of you. I think the more people we have, this really amplifies. And again, too, if you have any of your friends just in periphery that you think could benefit from this, just share the call number and just tell them to log on and try it out. If they like what they hear and it works for them, then great. So, as I go through the exhaustion. So, as you're laying in all this space, just allow yourself to just get still and really fall in. Allow your mind to just dissolve everything that wants to take your attention away from you. If there's something you've been worrying about all this week, the last 2 weeks since the last call, just throw that on the fire. All this cosmic fire that's going to come through. All these plasma, coronal mass ejections that are coming at the planet. All this stuff is lightening us up. And don't forget to breathe. Sometimes I wonder if that's maybe something I do, is maybe I haven't been breathing as deeply and deliciously as I should have been, because I feel like I've been very short of breath. But I'm here to release even that pattern. So if there's some deficiency, if there's some place where you're perceiving that you are hurting and or something doesn't feel right, just take your heart into that and just go in and ask for a release and ask for a deep healing. As you go into this awareness, I know times before we've gone into each chakra separately. everyone that's on this call tonight has been on the call for several times at different points. So tonight, let's just go in and realize that we don't even have to go hit every single chakra in a separate way. We've already allowed for a deep integration of the chakric system. If you still feel like that you're in a separation of that, you're invited to let that go. Even being on the call earlier, when we go into this frequency, the chakra systems already align because of the high frequency we're at when we're together in the calls. It basically is that same spirit of two or more gathered, with Yeshua, whoever, however, that works. It's really true. And when we come together, all the masters are always there with us. And just to remind you, we don't have to articulate this every time because we've done this over a year now. And every time we come in, the presence is always here. It's always Mother, Father, God. It's always every ascended master through infinite presence. It's always the entire archangelic kingdom. It's always the mighty Elohim, builders of form. And there's 7 Elohim. There's always the entire elemental kingdoms. There's always Saint Germain and the violet flame. There's always the adamantine, the diamond Christ light. And then there's also the 12th golden ray that I always pull in. But we're at a place where we don't have to pull these in anymore. We don't have to articulate it. We are in that flow of energy field where we're always constantly being met. I don't know how many of you have adopted that, and you may not have adopted, asking for the assistance of all of these beings, when you do go into meditative states or when you go into healing work for yourself or for the planet or what have you. It certainly cannot hurt. Again, every person has their own capacity to go in and carry light and to work with spirit and healing energy. There's no right or wrong way to do that, and I don't care what anyone tells you. The main thing is that you're raising your frequency, and just by being in pure divine presence to the highest capacity that you have, you're still doing what you came here to do. What's always interesting for me is sometimes when people go back and re-listen to the call, if they go ahead and skip and go through to just the meditation without being on the call previous and listening to the astrology part, if the frequency of the call through the astrology is as intense as the meditation energy when we go in and start working in that deep level, I think it's all the same. And I think because we go in on such deep levels, with the astrology, even though we're talking about the astrology, we're still in higher awareness. And I do think it probably, being on the call early, even before meditation, it sets the tone. And it does, allow us to fall into as much pristine awareness to go more easily into the meditative state. At the same time, I've known people that just went to the meditations and they were able to feel into that energy immediately because the vibrational field matches, where we're at in that healing part of the meditation. So they can just go right in. And it's both. It depends on where each soul is. And as I've said too, all of this energy is encoded onto the call. It's encoded into the recording. Because it's a frequency, it comes through in my voice, but it also comes through just as pure presence. So I'm hoping that no matter who listens to this call, no matter when it is, this meditative state will assist whoever in shifting whatever needs to be worked through in that particular moment of time. And that's always true. We always find exactly what we need in any given moment of time to assist us in shifting or transmuting whatever it is we don't feel like we can transmute and shift for ourselves. That is the immediacy. Just like when I was met with a farmer, just happened to drive up the immediate moment that I needed it. And all I did was stay in deep gratitude and just thank you. Absolute gratitude. This is the divine flow. There's so many people that live their lives constantly in divine flow. They never want for another thing because they're never in separation of creation. If we're always in flow and always where Spirit guides us and takes us, we will always be met. But that's how we were designed to be here. That is what's coming on more and more and more online every single nanosecond. It's never not been online. It's never gone away. It's just that we weren't at the frequency of perception. We had gone so deep in that forgetfulness. And we just forgot that we are always met, that Spirit always meets us. It's one thing to say it, it's another to know it in your heart and soul, that you're always met. Like right now, Spirit's going into each of our hearts with the cosmic heart and just blasting out anything, any gradu that doesn't exist. It's a figment. It's part of the false reality. Each of you will experience this very uniquely, depending on the phenomena. Some of you may feel like you get heart palpitations. Some of you may feel like you're lightheaded, or some of you may feel lethargic. Some of you may just feel otherworldly. It's all the above. Every person's going to experience it uniquely based on where they are in soul progression. The main thing is that every single one of us are lightening up. All of this cosmic love releases all of the densification. It's releasing the distortion from the deepest cellular structure, from the atomic and subatomic levels of our physical bodies, the physicality. It's also going deeper, though. It's going into the divine blueprint, into the etheric body. Each time that we come together, it gets easier and easier, because we're no longer having to go in and clear densification that had been in here for so long, deep calcification. For instance, most of you will probably find that you can go from zero to deep meditation almost instantaneously now, because we've worked so deeply together and on a very deep and regular basis. All of these deep theta states are opening up the pineal gland and giving deep clarification. What that does is takes each of us into the immediacy of knowing. We can know ourselves as presence. You're changing from the inside out. There's so many things that you used to think were important, and now you may look back at those things and think, what on earth was I thinking? Because they're not the deepest essence of who you are or what you would want to create. And for the way that we used to go through each of the systems in the body, if you'll remember, I used to take everyone through the skeletal system, the musculature system, the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, all the blood. We used to have to go through all the systems. We no longer have to do that. We're already in deep homoluminous states, so that when we come together, we're already in the glorified body. We've never not been in the glorified body, but we're in such deep immediacy with each other that we've gone into such deep cellular memory that we've shifted the cellular memory that is supportive, and we're anchored in these new timelines. We no longer have to go in and do the deep level of work that we used to for clearing. That's part of this Taurus new moon. We're immersing ourselves into this moon as pristine awareness. We're immersing ourselves as a clean slate. Whatever has been planted from our deepest I am presence with the totality of Mother, Father, God as an expression. It's only our job to feel into what Spirit is bringing forth to us. Can you imagine that all of your new creations have already been created? They were created before we even came into incarnation in this time. They are vast, vast manifestations. They have potential to take us into a depth of our core that we just never imagined being able to feel into. And we're feeling into it. Isn't that absolutely amazing that we can just be in presence and we go so deeply into the field and we're so deeply supported on the atomic and subatomic levels that we don't have to go clear all that stuff anymore. So take a deep breath in and feel that breath move through the totality of your physicality all in one breath. On one inhale, the entirety of God presence goes through your entire being. And you'll feel it as if your whole body is full body breathing. Now that's a trick, isn't it? Many of you may have the phenomena that you feel, you'll feel a tingling in your extremities, in your arms and your legs. That's the vibrational frequency. Many of you will feel the pulsating going deeply into your nervous system that is attempting to clear any last residue. You may feel that phenomena deeply in your dantian, in the belly, really cleaning out the emotional core of who you are as an expression, making room for the highest potentiality of new emotional connections that are built from a place of wholeness and completeness. You never ever need another person to complete you, either emotionally or intellectually or any other way. You can create relationships that can come in and they can partner with you on a deeply loving and sustainable way without ever siphoning off your energy field or where either of you feel that you are subservient to the other. This is the way that we were meant to be in divine human expression. Some of you may feel heavy layers of energy drop away from your stomach and feel like it just leaves your body. And indeed, that's what's happening. if you've ever had problems with your eyes, feel into your eyes and what's happening with them at this moment. Even my own eyes have been not as clear. The clarity has not been quite what they were. Some people manifest all sorts of challenging energy with their eyes. At the same time, that type of thing can clear up almost immediately just by shifting the energy. Some people end up with phenomena where their throats either bother them, or there's some discordant energy where they feel like they can't talk. That all has to do with taking your power. Right now, you'll feel the phenomena all the way down at the lower throat chakra, but also in the upper part of your higher throat chakra, the Spiritu Sancti, which is basically behind your nose and the navel cavities. It's the high throat chakra. You may feel a deep clearing of that area, which takes you into higher spoken expression. Additionally, if you have any really deep feelings of exhaustion, let's just go through and allow those to completely be transmuted and removed from any and all vibrational frequencies within your field. If you have any additional phenomena anywhere else in your body, with any of your organs, with any of the systems, just throw those on the cosmic fire and allow Spirit to completely burn them off with Saint Germain and the violet flame. Many of you will feel a inflammatory energy come in that will basically ignite and just reduce them to nothing. There's so much exhaustion that moves through me with this type of work. It used to do the same thing with Judith. As we go through and facilitate these shifts and changes, perhaps you're already feeling so much lighter in the dantian, within your emotional structure, in the belly. The cosmic fire has burned off any and all leftover residue. which will allow you to create from pure pristine awareness through a clarified and completely cleaned emotional body. Aren't you so ready to create from the deepest heart capacity new relationships that don't carry emotional baggage? And know that if you attempt to go back and create in the old way, that you'll feel it. It's almost as if you set up a booby trap. That if you go backwards or attempt to go backwards, it will feel so off and you'll stop. That's part of what we're coming into. It's the deepest embodiment. So as you're sitting in all of this oceanic presence, and you're starting to envision your new life, invite Spirit to really guide you. Really go into deep surrender and ask to be shown the next lighted step for whatever it is. Allow for the highest divine unfoldment for your soul, knowing that you've already created the highest potentiality that your soul can create within this particular vibrational frequency at this moment of time. And you can also know that as we continually go through these shifts and changes, and as the vibrational capacity continually accelerates for us, and we continually go into the accelerated timelines, everything is going to go exponentially fast. And we will continue to create in ways that we never dreamed were possible. Realities are going to come forth we never, ever thought that were within our reach. as we continually expand, the morphogenetic field has to continue to expand. That is happening at an exponential level that has never occurred on the planet up to this point in time. Neptune going into Aries has really facilitated that expansion. That's the dream. Over the next month, when Saturn finally reaches into Aries, the two of those will be working together and giving structure to our new dreams. They're literally only about a month away from coming into the material world. Saturn is structure. There will be still challenging aspects here or there that will assist us and prompt in shifting ourselves or with our family and friends in ways where we need to release additional things. But overall, there will be a very constructive energy that is allowing for an amazing new creation here in the external world of form. The old world is gone. There is no going back. If there's any part of you drawn to your old world, you're invited to just release that. Just release it. If you still feel like there's something there that you need to go sit in, go attempt to sit in it. And feel into your heart, and if it doesn't feel right, you'll spit it out. There are no rules to this. We live in an unlimited reality system. You can create whatever you want to create. As a general rule, though, when you go through soul progression, you don't go backwards. It would make you physically ill to go backwards. I guess that was Spirit's way of indicating that that was a major thing to know. You can't go backwards. You may slide back a bit. I just had a message from Anna that she wasn't able to come into the call tonight. She just got music for whatever reason. I hope there weren't other people that couldn't get on the call, but again, for whatever reason, everything is always perfect. So perhaps she can listen to the call at a later time when we put this up, and that will be when she's supposed to hear it. There's no rhyme or reason to why things either work or don't work for us at this moment. And just as a reminder, you may feel like you're in a flow, but then things don't go right, or what you think would be happening. This is a really powerful reminder for this. If something is not in flow, it's not meant for you in that particular moment of time, even if it's something you normally do. Like Anna, trying to be on the call with us, could not get on for the last couple hours. She only got music for whatever reason. Rather than having a resistance to it, you just allow it to be. I'll send out the link to the call and she'll be able to get on later. But I have a feeling we're going to continually be tested consciously and unconsciously, just to check where our soul progression is at any given moment of time. Those tests are going to have to do with my will versus divine will. There will be many times when we feel like we're in divine flow, and yet there may be other circumstances that come up, and we think, oh, why can't I do that? Don't go into why you can't do it. Just acknowledge that it wasn't in flow. It wasn't meant to be in that particular moment of time. That's all. And you just surrender. I think this is going to be the biggest lesson for all humans within the next year to year and a half is surrender. Especially all the way until Neptune and Saturn finally get into Aries back in next February. But especially into the fall, or into the summer next year. There's so many things that are going to be upended in the old world. Allow anything to come forth that needs to come forth. If something happens, then it was meant to happen. It was something that wants your attention. Hopefully most everyone on this call has already done most of the deep work. And yet every time we think we've done all of that work, something else will come forward. Don't go into fear with regards to anything that comes up. Just go face it with your highest capacity of love. Coming together with these deep meditations is so amazing to sit in this deep oceanic presence. So as we bathe ourselves and our family and our friends in this vast healing energy, let's also just send this out into the world and allow it to radiate every nanoparticle of creation, sentient and non-sentient beings, all across the planet and out through the cosmos. Think about how vast that is of a creation. Not to control or manipulate anyone's circumstances or anything else. Still allowing for the growth, the soul growth of where everyone is along the soul progression. We can certainly send out the highest blessings possible to bestow out through the cosmos. And on that note, I'm always, as always, in deep gratitude for the continued attendance with these and the consistency in which we come and meet each other. And again, I will leave. You're invited to stay on the call as long as you want. I will just keep the energy field open, and then I'll leave the meditation in place as long as Spirit leaves me in. But then I'll end the recording part. But you can stay in this field as long as you're receiving this healing energy. I think it certainly has helped everyone. It's amazing how many people have stayed on after the call ended. So again, infinite love and deep blessings to every single one of you.